Jai Baba Swami, Jai Atmeshwar. A very warm welcome to all the guests, participants, and hosts of today's session. This is Samarpan, where we take you through the history of Samarpan meditation as witnessed by first generation sadhaks, and we will get to know about their journey and the evolution of Samarpan meditation in various parts of the world. It is an interview by the souls to connect with the super soul through the collectivity of souls. Today we will take you to UK to meet a pure soul with a beautiful heart and listen to her mesmerizing saga of Samarpan journey. But before that, a few house rules. Dear guests and co-hosts, please put your phones on silent and WhatsApp calls and notifications on mute. Please turn on your audio video please turn off your audio video until the interview begins, and we will announce and invite you to speak. If you get disconnected and join back, and please message one of the teammates personally. We will make you co-host so you have the privileges to mute and unmute. For the audience, we request to please turn off your videos so we can have a better bandwidth to enjoy the program. During the session, if you have any questions, please share in the chat or on YouTube. We are going live on YouTube as well, and the link for YouTube is shared in the Zoom chat. So please share with us friends and family to spread the word. We will collect all the questions and address them at the end of the session. And without further delay, now I would like to invite Rasika ji for the next part. Thank you, everyone.
Jai Baba Swami. This is the disclaimer for the session. The only objective of this is Samarpan is connecting all living beings of present times. The information and opinions shared here by anyone are personal views of the speaker and are not officially associated with any social, religious, cultural, political, educational, or other organization. We are here to be inspired on how to go back to our original nature of a pure soul or a Holy Spirit. By no means we intend to offend someone, or to hurt anyone's emotions. We support understanding of any subject based on our own experiences rather than rely on any online or bookish information, encouraging baseless ideology or superstitious beliefs. Please accept our soulful love or atmiyata and disregard any information that you don't agree with. Thank you. Jai Baba Swami. I will like to invite Aishwarya ji.
Jai Baba Swami. So I will introduce a little about Samarpan meditation. The foundation of this beautiful program is Samarpan meditation. It is an authentic and simple meditation practice based on Guru's sanskars or values of Guru. It has been practiced since last 800 years in the Himalayas by the yogis, ascetics, and the sages, and was first brought into the society by Sri Shiv Krupanand Swamiji in 1994 for the benefit of the common people like us. By the grace of those Himalayan gurus, today Samarpan meditation is practiced by millions of people in more than 50 countries in the world. Surprisingly, Samarpan meditation is offered totally free to anyone without any barriers of nationality, religion, race, gender, color, caste, or language. Samarpan meditation is made of two words, Samarpan. Means letting go negativity of the ego, of thought, of the past or the future, and of any expectation or attachment. Meditation. Meditation is naturally allowing our self-consciousness to merge into universal consciousness without any effort. Samarpan meditation helps us to live life in a balanced state of mind with optimal body, health, to achieve overall progress while growing spiritually. You will also hear us saying Jai Baba Swami or Jai Atmeshwar. When we say Jai Baba Swami, it reminds us that we all are like pearls bonded through an unseen thread of our Master Baba Swami. And by saying Jai Atmeshwar, we bow down to the soul inside you. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Pranav.
Jai Baba Swami. So, our today's guest, Emma Dolman, is a senior leader in the UK civil service. For most of her career, she has worked for the Ministry of Defense, leading complex, high profile, and operationally critical change programs, and has worked with all branches of the armed forces in a wide variety of roles. Currently, she works for the Department of Education, setting up a portfolio delivering once in a generation set of changes to the children's social care system. Emma holds 3 degrees from the well-known universities like MA from St. Andrews University, PG Diploma Land Economy from Aberdeen University, and MSc from Oxford Brookes. She is also a qualified chartered surveyor and member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors and has successfully passed training in the leading government major projects at the Major Projects Leadership Academy, Oxford University Business School. Emma joined Samarpan in 2001 around Swamiji's initial visit to the UK. She was the Leicester area head during 2003-2006, and from 2006 to 2009, she was the UK reporter and also gave lectures at the international retreats 2007 and 2009. She later also served as the UK Managing Trustee. She is a member of the International Samarpan Medical Group and has been involved in many Samarpan research projects. She has set up several meditation centers around the UK, including at the Ministry of Defense, as well as the Department of Education. She is actively involved in running JCO meditation sessions online. Emma took 2 secondments out of the civil service, including one at Ashridge Hult International Business School, where along with the teaching and writing on leadership and business, she actually undertook and published research into the benefits of Samarpan meditation. She has also carried out meditation research within the Ministry of Defense. In her leisure time, she likes to be in the garden space where she grows her own vegetables. She has interest in photography and DIY stuff and is often found trying to outsmart her mischievous Siamese cats. So let's invite our today's guests, Emma Dolman. Jai Baba Swamiji.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully, any minute now, I'm going to be able to.
Yes. Jai Baba Swami. On behalf of the Global Samarpan family, I would like to invite Emma Dolman from UK to our This is Samarpan program. Good afternoon, Emma. It is good morning for us in America and good evening to sadhaks in India. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. It's just after lunch for us.
Okay, so that's great. You are all set, fully energized.
Awesome.
The gas tank is full. The car can run now.
Let's hope so.
Yes. So you can share the PPT now.
Yeah, shall I go for the buttons? Let's have a go.
I will start with the first question.
Bear with.
Number 8.
We're on number 8. Just need to.
Number 9.
Technology. Here we go.
Yes.
Tell me if this works. Yay.
So we will, very good. You can go on.
One fast.
You can go on the next one now. Yes. So I will start with this first question. Please tell us about your personal life and spiritual journey before coming into Samarpan meditation.
Okay. Well, you got a little bit of that from the lovely introduction just now. So just to give a little bit more about kind of how I guess born and brought up. You know, I was born in the UK. Here's a few pictures to share with you, just to give you a bit of an impression of life life growing up. So that's my mum and dad. My dad was a lawyer. My mum was a housewife. That's me on the toy giraffe. My love of cats that's been talked about as my my kittens in the bottom with my older cat. I was brought up in the Church of England. Yes, we kind of went to church, but I could never quite connect with how religion worked. So, you know, you would see a picture of Jesus in his robes and his beard. But I remember sitting thinking, well, how do you connect to that? How do you experience that? You know, it was all about scriptures. It was all quite complicated. And as I grew up and into my teens, I collected like stickers and things of different religions. That's quite interesting. And then we had to do a project at school that was on different religions. And I was really taken with the, you know, some of the big temples that you get in Thailand and ones in India. And I had a really strong connection to India. I didn't really realize at the time. But I really felt that, you know, I kind of wanted to go there, really didn't know why. And then I got into, you know, all the exams that we all get into, then went off to university, did a couple of degrees, as you've heard about. And then I started working for the Ministry of Defence for many years. And it was only around age 29 that I became interested through a friend in. It started with astrology, and then again I thought, oh gosh, that's quite hard work, isn't it? You have to learn where the planets are and how it all fits together. And then somebody else got me into meditation, and perhaps more on the psychic level for those who've kind of done other meditations other than Samarpan. And that was fine, but again, I couldn't quite see where this took me. I was always kind of trying to work out what was the meaning of life, and you know what was beyond all of this. And so I got into healing. I did some Reiki that I expect some people have done in the past, and a kind of Egyptian variation of that. And then I met a teacher who just did a simple meditation and healing. And it was through him that he brought me back a picture on a calendar of Ramakrishna, and suggested when I meditated to meditate with him between my hands, the picture, not the meditation teacher.
Do you have any picture on the slides? Do you have some?
Oh, look, here we go. So up top left, over here, can you see my?
Yes, we can see that.
So Ramakrishna was, and just that picture, and I used to meditate with the picture between my hands, and then he introduced me to the Vedanta Center, which is the bottom here in the middle here. It's a lovely building, lovely to go and meditate there. Swamiji's been there, and he's meditated in the meditation room there. Lovely, lovely, peaceful energy. Ramakrishna passed away at the beginning of last century. And suddenly the teacher that I was that I'd done the healing with stopped doing the teaching. And so I then, through a friend Bill, then got introduced within 6 months to these other lady teachers, gurus from Indian origin. The Hugging Mother was the very first one that I met. And for those of you who don't know, she comes to the UK every year. Thousands of people go. You sit in line. When she gets to you, she gives you a big hug. I'd never met a saint before, and when I stood up, it was like being microwaved from the inside out. It was this hot feeling that overwhelmed me, and then I burst into tears. I thought, oh, that was interesting. And then a couple of months later, I was offered to go to trip to Germany, which is where Mother Mira resides. And again, very, very different experience, where again, very peaceful, different approach, no meditation involved in either of them. Although with Mother Mira, you sit very quietly for a couple of hours, and when you feel moved, you go up and kneel before her, and she puts her hands on your head. Great experience. Again, wasn't quite sure where that was going. And then finally, again, all within 6 months, I met Sri Krunamai on the right-hand side, over here. I've lost my point of view. And she was just lovely, really beautiful energy, much smaller community. I followed her to America to a silent retreat, which was very, very powerful. And it was just a few weeks later that the leader of that group rang me up in the conversation. He said, oh, I've got this flyer for a new guru, a new approach, come out of the Himalayas very newly. Somebody called Sri Kripnan Swami. I can't go. Here's the leaflet, put it in the post to you, see if you can go. And that's how I then met Swamiji.
Wow, that's really beautiful story. And I loved about your childhood, the way you brought it up, that you were brought up in a Christian family and you had that inquisitiveness. This is something very interesting for everyone to realize and go back into our childhood. What was the time when I was triggered into inquisitiveness, in the curiosity to know something more than what I already know from my background, from my surrounding, from my environment? And it continued with your search, as you said that you were doing the school project and then you got involved about different faith system, different culture, and you were always willing to find out more about those culture and those belief system. And then suddenly you met your friend Bill. I'm surprised how one person can lead you to different energies and different gurus.
Yeah.
This is something interesting. Like in Swamiji's life, his maternal grandmother, Nani, he calls, became instrumental to connect Swamiji into that spiritual journey, spiritual path, or looking for God or searching for God. The same way, Bill became instrumental in connecting you with different gurus like Ramakrishna Paramhans, then Hugging Mother, then Mother Meera, and then Karunamai. All these energies were Guru Shakti to me. It is different way to quench the thirst of your spirituality, your curiosity of going into your soul's journey was being answered, being blessed by God in one way or another to prepare for what is going to come in the future. And eventually, as you said, that you ended up in the hands of Guru Shiv Kripanand Swamiji. That is interesting. Very beautiful story. In such a short time, you gave us so much detail about how you ended up going to different places. You
And
also,
it's quite interesting, Jitendra, that actually my friend he carried on searching for a guru, and I've lost contact with him, but he never found a guru to follow, and that's fine because that maybe wasn't his path. But he gave me, a kind of box of chocolates of gurus all within 6 months, from which I was able to kind of. I was confused at the time because I didn't know, I'd always felt that I wanted to meet somebody who was pure. I'd had this inner feeling that I wanted to meet somebody who I could go on a journey with and was very pure, but had that kind of almost like credentials behind him in the sense of being a realized saint. So yeah,
right,
and I wasn't sure how you landed on the right one.
right. And another thing, you had very beautiful memory of when you came to USA for the retreat with Karunamai.
Yeah.
You said that the name Karuna, by the way, is grace, okay? Mother of grace, mother of love. And you mentioned that the female gurus are more connected with women on an emotional level because their Chandranadi is more active, and basically it is the purpose of the feminine energy to connect on a emotional level. Didn't she tell you something very special?
She did. You were allowed to, because it was a small organization, you were allowed to ask her a question. And so I remember going with a piece of paper because everybody had to write it down, because like with Swamiji, when you sit in Swamiji's proximity, you become thoughtless. So I went with my question on one occasion, and I can't for the life of me remember the question, but the answer came back that I am this very pure and beautiful crystal clear heart. So I thought that was a very lovely thing, and a very soft and gentle thing to say to somebody.
And what happened? What happened when you greeted her on her arrival?
Yeah, I mean, ever the skeptic, particularly in those days. This group. I mean, I was very new to the group, and they said, "Oh, come! Emma's coming. Come and greet her." She comes and steps out of the car, and so the door opened, and out came Sri Karunamai, and this ash started to manifest as she stepped out of the ground, which I normally quite rational and whatever, but I'd never seen anything quite like that before. It was a real experience. I'd had energetic experiences before after reading books. Maybe we talk about it later, but I'd never actually seen anything manifest.
Interesting. That's beautiful. We can go on the next question. So you literally were put at the spot where you were getting ready to receive new energy in your life. Tell us about how you come to know about Samarpan meditation and Baba Swami for the first time.
Yeah, so I guess moving from what I was explaining a little earlier about Swamiji coming to the UK just after I received that leaflet, and it was quite hard for me to do that because I was living about an hour and a half out of London, and every night Swamiji was going to come to Greenford and do 2 hours for 8 nights. And I think as far as I can recall, it was pretty much all in Hindi. And yet somehow I managed to get there. A couple of people offered me somewhere to stay. And I just was quite blown away by it. Not in a way that I thought, oh gosh, this is my guru, but just this feels the sort of thing that feels right to me. It was quite different from the other experiences of the other gurus. And around that time, I think Bihar and Nimisha were there, and we've put some pictures up there for those of you who know some of the people.
Yes.
On the other side, in the audience was Honey and Carrie and Neela, and Carrie and Neela are obviously, Honey is still very much with Samatan today. And then the other people are people that I've met very early on in this journey and had strong connections with. Ujwala, who no doubt we'll hear about later as the translator for us, which is a big part if you're if you don't speak any Hindi, I can tell you, and Srila Nag. And then Nizari, sorry, there's a bit of a spelling mistake up there, Nizari and Jayesh Pandit, who were the first people that we stayed with when we went to India on the first trip.
Very beautiful. So you came in contact with so many people, and so many people literally help you connecting with the Samarpan meditation and Guru Shakti or Swamiji himself. That's really beautiful part of your startup point in Samarpan. And it takes a lot of dedication. As you mentioned, you were not living in London itself. You were living 1.5 hours away from London. So that thing of traveling shows how dedicated you were and how hungry you were to know. Swamiji mentioned many times that, are you looking for something? Do you have everything in your life, or you are fully content? That is going to decide if you have reached to the maqam or final destination, or you are still on the track, on the path, you are on the ladder, or stepping forward, stepping higher. This is the kind of thing that I always try to notice in people's journey, that how from childhood they evolve spiritually from different experiences, from learning from different people, different culture, and how they end up coming closer to Swamiji. And Swamiji told you something also about meditation practice. You were doing not just one meditation. Swamiji already spotted that, right?
Yeah, so in the early days when Swamiji first came to the UK and we went to Wales and we went to Penrith, that was the first workshops, you were again allowed to have some time with him, with obviously a translator in my case. And in doing that, he said to me, I remember him saying, "You think too much." He said, "Your liver's far too hot. You're far too hot. You need to meditate." So I said, "Yeah, that sounds right." And then he said, interestingly, I see that there are two energies in your aura. You're following two paths, aren't you? Two different mantras. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Nobody knows that. I mean, nobody there knew that, and he certainly didn't know that. So I kind of realized that, clearly Swamiji had the ability to pick that up. And that sounds quite trite, but I mean, clearly, at that stage, you don't know. You're testing out who the guru is as much as he's testing out where you are on the path, and that. So he said very clearly, I don't mind which path you follow. I'm not interested in which path you follow. I'm not telling you to choose this path, but if you follow two paths, you divide the energy, and that made complete sense to me.
Right.
And that's what I then decided. Okay, well, I'll stick to one, and then I made my choice to stick to that, and that was 21 years ago. So something must have worked.
Very, very true. And it is more about focus or attention and how we can achieve our goal or where we want to reach at the final destination. We have a proverb in Hindi that says, आप दो घोड़े को एक साथ नहीं दौड़ा सकते, meaning that you cannot ride two horses at the same time. You can ride only one horse. The same way in our life, we have to focus on what we want to achieve and what path we can follow to reach there. Maybe like in GPS, you get 3 options. Sometimes it says that you have to pay toll or you will be taking this way. Then there is a out of highway service road. There is a straightforward road, which is shortcut, but it will take longer because there is more traffic. And there is ordinary in between both of them. So the same way in our life, we are exposed to so many different paths, different choices. With the information that is available in today's time, life is becoming more and more confusing because there are so many options for one little thing, anything you want to buy or anything you want to do. The same thing happens in spirituality. Like you have said, you have been to so many gurus and you were already practicing meditation before coming to Swamiji. So while offering this Samarpan meditation, it was very honest suggestion by Swamiji after knowing you closely that you should be focusing on one. And I remember Swamiji, when I met him in August 2001, he was telling me that there were some sadhaks who were practicing Satya Sai Baba Satsang, and Swamiji told them that he is also living guru and I am also living guru. You should decide, but you should not try to get influenced by my words. You have to listen to your soul. You have to listen to your inner voice. And that is a very honest advice that one can give to another person. And I really appreciate Swamiji's honesty and frank solution or suggestions anytime you ask him. And he knows more than what we can think of, by the way.
He does, and particularly in the West, there's a view. There aren't always positive views about gurus, and so you choose carefully, and you choose according to your soul. So that's where I came from. And just to make you laugh, I at one of the sessions in the workshops over that weekend, we all had to stand up and say what we've experienced, and it was great because just over 2 or 3 days, people were standing up saying, I've never meditated before and this has happened to me. And he got to me and he said, you tell me, what did you experience? And I stood up, and in total honesty, everybody had been saying magnificent meditation, and I can smell rose, I can smell sandalwood. And I said, well, I can really strongly feel the energy, but I can smell this horrible smell. It's like something from the sewer. And he said, yes, he said, that's your negativity coming out.
No, but it is very true. That is what is happening when we are doing something, or especially in the cleansing process that happens during meditation, especially in the presence of Guru or in collectivity, greater collectivity. This is normal experience. But Swamiji always say, don't feel offended or don't feel low or bad about it, because this is your journey. You are starting and you are cleansing yourself. So this is how it starts. And it's a beautiful testimony that you are sharing with us, because many people get inferiority complex or guilt that why I am getting this kind of anubhuti or experience, why I am not feeling the way other people are doing it. And Swamiji always say, every experience is different and every experience is going to give you new level of spirituality. Every experience is there in your life in order to learn from it. It's a lesson giving experience. Every time I have felt something, and it's a beautiful way. And I'm sure with your sense of humor, you must made people laugh that how come this person is giving another type of experience.
Yeah, it did become a bit of a thing that every time I stood up, I don't know what it was I said, but very often it used to make him laugh.
Yes, yes. Let's go on to the next
I
question.
felt in the early stages I was a bit like the class clown, you know.
Well, we need all kind of people to keep the classroom going, right? Let's go on to the next question. So one thing I understand that before going to all these different gurus, you understood what is energy. You took interest in being healer and how to heal yourself or others also. And Swamiji also mentioned in his discourse that when I went to UK, some people were healers and they were able to see the aura, they were able to understand the vibrations, unlike people in India who were literally just listening and following the bigger crowd. And that is one beautiful thing that Swamiji like about UK, that if somebody can understand the vibration, it becomes easy for him to give more and give directly without word the real energy experiences. So my question to you is, you have been a healer, you already had the sense of energy when you came across so many gurus, including Swamiji. How would you differentiate your experience as compared to an ordinary person like me or any other sadhak who are coming from the society, normal living without any understanding of vibration or energy or aura?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, I guess the way I approached it is I had a short time doing healing, and I could definitely feel the energy when I was doing the different approaches that I'd learned. I couldn't quite understand where my path was going if I was doing healing, and also I also had learned when I started going to the Ramakrishna Vedanta Center that they said matter and energy can't be destroyed. So actually they were saying you have to be really careful when you do healing because you will take a part of that on yourself. And one of the things that did happen to me was I was doing some healing for somebody who I think they're in the military, and they damaged their knee quite badly, and we did some healing, and it completely disappeared, and he was like hopping around, you know, quite happily. And not that long afterwards, I suddenly had appendicitis. I thought, well, that's quite interesting. You know, because I'm not a medic, but the appendix is clearly something that you don't necessarily need, but it can cause you, you know, quite a lot of harm. So, you know, if it's not caught in time. And so I began to think about that and think about what I was doing. I read a lot. I'd had some experiences from reading, even just from reading. I would sometimes lie on the bed, and a couple of times I had a real strange floating out of body feeling. I could feel energy coming out of my hands and out of my crown chakra. I mean, things that an ordinary person would think you were slightly mad, but no, these were really real life, and it was all of these experiences together that were in abundance when you were doing more of the healing, the psychic, that kind of thing. And
you want to move this slide on the next one just in case?
Yeah, indeed. So this was when Swamiji first came to Penru, and maybe that's kind of where it picks up the. So what was different from what I've just described? You know, the sensations that you get from that actually I find my personal experience with Swamiji, it's a very deep level transformation that happens, and it is really simple. So, you know, going back to astrology and religions, I've always felt kind of slightly complicated. There's lots of kind of rules, there's things you need to understand. This is all about experience. So this is all about, you do the meditation, you have consistency in doing it, you don't look for the results, you just carry on every day, you know, in the way that you would do it, with faith on the fact that this is part of a spiritual journey, and you're connected to, a really pure soul in doing that. And there aren't the bells and whistles, and there isn't the competition as to, when you do your guided meditation, have you seen, Merlin and his owl or whatever it is that people might do in their guided meditations. There's none of that. There's no ego attached to any of it. It's you on your own journey, connecting deeply to your soul. And then as you become balanced, you can see that balance inside you. And that balance then enables you to, to make the connection, your own connection. So you're not focused on the guru. And that's what I really like about this, is that this is your path. You are not devoted to.
It's your journey, your soul's journey.
It's your soul's journey, and Swamiji's energy is the generator to enable you to make that deeper connection. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, but it's always helpful. And so when a lot of people I notice get caught up, is that they get caught up in the person, or they get caught up in the practice. But with Samarpan, and Swamiji's very leave it if you want to. Try it for 45 days, but you can leave it.
Yeah, that is the freedom that everybody needs and should have, rather, in the spiritual journey, because as you mentioned, soul is the one who decides if I want to go this direction or not, or if it is the right path for me or not. So very, very powerful thing.
Yeah. And that top right picture was when I met Swamiji. I had a connection. You're always evolving that connection as you go along. And I just knew, and I wanted to take a picture of him. And that was the very first picture he let me take of him, by the spider plant in Penru. There you are.
Yes.
Picture.
Beautiful picture.
And there's a very looking me, Hitendra, down the bottom. Look,
Yes. Yes.
So, and that was the first. The beach was a very important part for all of those people who were lucky enough to get to Penru in those days. We always used to go for a walk along the beach. Swamiji, particularly after he'd done a session, he would open and connect to the elements and open his aura, as it's called, which was amazing. And then that's the very first group, and there'll be people who have been in Samarpan a long while might notice. So you've got,
yes, I know
Jay,
Kerry, I know Jaya Ben, Liz, Colin.
Colin there. Yeah.
Vince is there sitting all the way left.
Yeah, that's Vince. And then there was some German ladies over here, I remember, because they were also into Mother Mirror. Yeah, sorry, I can't see. Oh, look, there's Durish.
Yes.
Up everybody, but
yes, I know.
Slightly blind these days, but
this is beautiful memory, and I'm glad that you have collection of all these photos that many people might not have seen so far. And look, Swamiji, how happy he is. He's so happy to be with all of you. And that is the amazing part. One thing that you brought in your first part of the answer is very beautifully explained about the healers. And this is what Swamiji said to one of the healer when he was staying in Mumbai at her house. Swamiji said, I see all the catches of negativity that you cleared others and you healed them are sitting in your house. So in simple words, a healer who is not fully aware of what he is doing and how the energy is supposed to be managed or released back in the nature may end up hurting himself or herself while doing the job of healing. Many people are doing Reiki, many people are doing other way of healing, but all these different things might be, for some people, it is a way of making their living. It's a source of income, but it may hurt them on an energy level worse than any other physical job, that people get hurt in the accident or a little bit back pain or this is subtle level. And this energy, if it is hurting you on a subtle level, you may not see and you may not even understand, even though you are managing or handling that energy. So this was a best lesson that one can learn from your own experience, that you had to go through appendicitis and you were wondering what is happening. how come this is coming in my life at this age or at this stage? But every little thing is a lesson. As I said, every experience is a lesson. So you, at least after reading your books and after meeting Swamiji, you realize that healing is good profession if it is helping you as well as the other person. But if it is hurting you, it is not a good profession for you. You may need to master the art of healing on a different level. That is what Samarpan meditation can offer you. And I'm sure that that is one of the things that attracted you also.
Yeah, and I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, I can't say clearly that the appendicitis was caused through healing, but it was a warning to me to have a think. And quite clearly, and as Swamiji himself has said many times, if you need to do healing, it's your job, it's your profession, then equally that's fine. You know, you can light a candle and you can say the mantra before you do your healing. It's just that, you know, at each stage along my journey, I keep getting prodded onto different things, and that's my journey. So
Right, everybody have different journeys. Yes. Yeah. So it is interesting. You had you got opportunity to spend time with Swamiji in 2002 retreat, 2003 retreat, and I see some familiar faces also again here. I think you have Tim Syme.
He's here with it from a pointy thing. There he is. There's Tim.
Is that Surendra Bhai on the top right?
Say again. Surendra, that looks like Surendra to me. Yeah.
Vinita next to him.
Srila to translate.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of familiar.
Faces. Yes. Beautiful. It's good to see those old photos. And I think the bottom left is Hazel Courtney.
No, that's oh, the name's gone.
No problem.
It will come back to me. It will come back to me. Linda.
Linda, okay.
Linda. Carrie will know. She will know.
Carrie, I know. And Rashmi.
I think it's a Linda.
And next to Linda is Rashmi at the bottom.
Yeah, oh, yes, there's Rashmi. Look, there's Rashmi.
Yes. Such a beautiful family we have from very early days. Amazing. And we are going to invite some of those people in the future sessions for This is Samarpan, because they all have some beautiful memories and a lot of interesting story with Swamiji for us to share. Very nice. Very nice.
He certainly did. And the top picture before I move on is the this is where St. David was born, and Swamiji had a strong connection with the energy of St. David. And this is the ruined chapel. And Swamiji, I'm sure probably other people have told you, probably Tim, that you know, the energy was so beautiful that we often went out, and this is close to the chapel. We used to go and meditate there, or he would do one of his workshop sessions in the
Yes. It's one of the very interesting connection that Swamiji has developed. And I remember Swamiji telling me his story of St. David experience when he came August 2001 to Canada for the first time and stayed with us in Montreal. He was sharing his story that after completing the 8 days workshop in London, when he went to the Wales area and they were doing the breakfast, and Swamiji was discussing about having the vision of a Christian saint. He said, I don't know, but he had this vision of a saint. And then Swamiji also said that right now I'm talking to you and I'm seeing that saint around us. He's walking around in the room. He felt the energy, he saw these things, and then he requested the sadhaks to start looking for or searching for it. And that is how they were able to describe. And suddenly Swamiji said that, yes, this is the saint that I am talking about, Saint David. So how beautiful it is that a living guru is connecting us with the enshrined guru or saint, this is beyond the boundaries of religion, because it is pure energy. Here, everything that is being discussed or identified or shared is the grace of God. And through the grace of God, we are able to recognize our own saint, our own belief system. We understand it better now in the presence of a living guru. And that's why we should consider ourselves very, very lucky that Swamiji has, how you say, unfolded or uncovered certain things that were hidden to us that we did not know. And I'm sure that in your story, we are going to learn more about such things. Let's continue going further.
This is just a very quick example of interesting things that happened to us. So when we were in the Penry retreat in 2004, so moving on a couple of years,
Yes.
there was we during the weekend it was suggested we did some art together, and I remember that Lorna and myself and Lorna's sister and I think her mum all joined in, and we decided that we had to, whatever we did, we had to use natural materials. So we thought, oh well, we'll do the subtle body picture of Swamiji, not an easy thing really, but so this is what we did. Now the picture in the middle here, if you can see my pointy thing,
Yes.
was what we'd completed by the time we got to overnight, because these were all then going to be presented to Swamiji on the last day. So this one is this is one that we did, and we did it overnight, and then we left it and we all went to bed. We left it in a room, the room was shut, and everything on that picture was glued down solidly.
Right.
Morning, when we came back, we discovered that the line of rose petals, these are all rose petals, had moved over here and had been re-glued down.
That's a miracle.
Onto the picture. Now, Hitendra, you can probably tell me better than I can that the red thread that was going from that side to that side was actually wrong, and it
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it needs to be. Is it not the Brahmin cord or something? I probably got that one wrong.
So
yeah.
I can explain you, but finish your story, then I'll tell you.
So we had nothing to do with it. We didn't touch those. Nobody touched those petals. Nobody knew. And so something happened in the night to actually show us that energy works in ways that we can't possibly understand, even down to moving your rose petals when you've made a mistake.
Absolutely. So I would like to take this example as the beautiful example for many things that happen in our life. You see, in the Western world, we are talking about free will and God's will. Free will is the one that we use to design the quality of our life, and we create the destination that I want to reach up to this goal, I want to achieve this much, and we use our intellect, we use our logic, and we use whatever we know in defining our path or carving the path that we want to reach, how I can achieve this by following this path. Okay, so that is the intellectual, rational, human logic that we are using. Is that correct? For using the free will and achieving our success in our life. That is how most of the people think that I will be happy, healthy, and living long life. That is the way we are living. That is free will. You are independent to decide how you want to live, how you want to study, how you want to work, how you want to get married or develop your family, and whatever. That is what happened in the first picture that you use with your own logic, your own creativity, and your own things. But you were trying to bring the petal from the left hand and putting it on the earth. That means spreading the blessing from the left hand. That is what you have done. However, as per my understanding of this picture, all I can say is when all those people who were involved in creating of this design, they use the photographic memory in their heart, in their mind, that this is the way we see the master or guru or saint, and something comes from their hand and it gives like a spreading of the energy or blessings, right? This is how we imagine and we try to portray. However, if you look in Swamiji's subtle body photo that is on the left side, always Swamiji's hand is like this, left. That means he's getting from this left hand. He's taking the energy with the left hand and he's giving the energy with the right hand. So the blessings are always going with the right hand. Okay. So when we did the picture, we means you guys did the picture, you were trying to give from the left hand. Left hand is not the giver. Left hand is the receiver of the energy. Right hand is the giver of the energy. Swamiji also mentioned in his discourse that the only simplest and easiest way, what we call sahaj or saral in Sanskrit, is love or prem. Even in current discourses, he mentioned several times during the Chaitanya Mahotsav also that love is the shortest and best way to connect with Guru and God. When the energy is coming from God, he is taking with the left side, emotional side. The heart is there on the left side. Only with the love, he can connect with God, or I can connect, or you can connect with God. We can connect with Guru also through the left side, through our emotions, without logic, without any intellect. On the right side is our intellect. On the right side is our future. On the right side is Surya Nadi. From there, it indicates the future is going to spread the grace of Guru. And it is a subtle way of correcting the energy in your creation, in your design, in your picture that you made by Guru Shakti. Isn't it amazing? That is really miracle. That is really miracle. And that is where we should believe and accept the reality that God is always with us. His grace is always with us. And he is there sometimes to explain in words, sometimes without explaining in words. Like what you and me are doing, we are explaining in words based on our understanding and experience with Guru energies, because we got proximity or association or sannidhya with Guru. That is our job. That is what Swamiji says, that senior sadhaks or those who have been practicing Samarpan meditation for a long time, they will become instrumental or channel for Swamiji to pass down this understanding and how we have experienced and evolve spiritually, internally inside, how we think, how we feel, and how we interpret the experiences and reaction with the people. So that's a very beautiful example or anubhuti, I would say, that how Guru energies correct us. That's beautiful. Is there anything else you want to add, or we can go on the next question?
No, I think maybe we should perhaps quite a bit to say about events and things, so maybe.
Right. So please tell us about the major events you attended in India. I am sure you have attended so many different things and you had lots of beautiful memories. So let's go through those memories in India and major events.
Well, yes. So many memories, and I appreciate we haven't got all afternoon. So so it's quite a lot of pictures here. So I'll go through, quite quickly, hopefully, and just pick out some things that hopefully.
Take your time. You are the Atithi, our guest. You have the full time. We will enjoy your company and learn from you.
Yeah, well, it certainly was an experience, having started Samarpan in 2001, 2002 went to Penru, and 2003 having heard Swamiji talk about Guru Purnima, which I have to admit I didn't really understand what it was, apart from people used to say, oh, it's a big celebration and it'd be great to go. Hey, why don't we all go? We could get a group, it would be fun. Oh yes, that sounds good. And so in the early days, a group formed themselves and off we went. And here's some pictures from the first one, and people that you'll probably recognize, because I mentioned earlier, Nizar and Jayesh looked after Carrie and Lorna and myself and Sarah.
Yes.
And you can see some pictures here. The top left here is Lorna struggling. It was monsoon, of course it was monsoon, so got drenched every other day.
The umbrella is flying.
Lorna was not only struggling to find her luggage, which got lost on the way, and was having to surrender all of that, but also having to deal with her umbrella. And here's obviously Namisha taking us on lots of brilliant tours around Mumbai. This is the one and only picture you'll be relieved to know that you'll see of me in a sari. That's Lorna and Carrie and myself. We went to Ambuja Cement to an event, you know, one of these things. We never knew what was going to happen because we didn't understand the language and none of us understood it.
Right.
And we were just told, you know, well, today you're going to go to Ambuja, we'll go for breakfast. And probably by 3:30 in the afternoon, we were still wondering when we were going to be going. Literally, that's how my journey started. Just, you can't control anything. You don't understand.
Just
go with
join,
it.
just flow.
Yeah, wear a sari, Emma. Oh, okay. Here are some safety pins. Well, that didn't work. The Garba at Ambuja Cement was brilliant, lovely collective energy, but unfortunately somebody trod on the end of that lovely yellow sari and the whole thing unraveled. So I'll leave it with you, but that was my, so slightly nervy about wearing saris after that, but I kind of got used to the salwar kameez, and as you can see down the bottom here, we had to do a lot of shopping when we got there, particularly 20 years ago. You know, wearing jeans and t-shirts were quite not quite de rigueur.
So was that the place where you bought your sari?
Of course. Yeah, we had all those suits made up for us. They made them up and
interesting. Very
we
beautiful.
put them on. And you can see the group around here: Joella, Carrie, Nizari, Neela, again from London, and then over here Dharmesh and Sonali. We had lots of interactions with Dharmesh and Sonali, who over the years become really good, really lovely part of the
At
family.
that time, Dharmesh Bhai was the world leader, I believe.
He was indeed. So he used to in those days give us all his knowledge, which was really helpful when we couldn't. And there's no translations in those days. So like now, there's an immediate translation after an event. You had to rely on somebody having been able to absorb and then repeat to you, because the energy is so strong, what was going on, because most of the time, and Swamiji would say, actually, Western people going to these events, we would absorb more energy because we had kind of given up a lot to go there, and there was obviously something that was really connecting for us. So in a way that if you use words, you know, the words get in the way because they may not accurately describe what he's saying. And the other thing is that when he talks and brings through the energy at a particular level, and the energy goes up and down as he speaks. So the energy is highest in the breaks, and of course we weren't listening to the words because we didn't understand them. So of course we just absorb the energies. What I think I'm trying to.
Absolutely, and that is what Swamiji mentions several times, that the consciousness flows in between the words during the silence period. Yeah.
Here's a very short dash, hopefully, through Baba Dam. Baba Dam was being constructed when we went in 2002. And here are some pictures. This picture of Swamiji laying the foundation stones, and then Swamiji, and I think it was Mr. Drew, isn't it here?
Drew Desai, Mr. Drew Desai.
Yeah, and then Swamiji, that's one of the first pictures I took of him in, which I really love that picture, because he's only so happy with his box of chocolates here. And that was taken in that pyramid room. So Swamiji's meditation room at the top of where he lives, Baba Dam, which is this building.
We have a picture on the next slide, I believe.
Yeah. And that's where he is, and so that's it in construction, and that's it when it was finished a year or two later. So here's some more pictures. And look, here's Hitendra wearing the same shirt 20 years later.
Yeah, the buttons are different though.
He hastens to add. Yeah, and so these were lovely pictures, and this is on top of Baba Dam, looking down on the pyramid and around. We were very privileged, in those days, to be able to go into Baba Dam and see what was being built and how it was being built. And here's the lake, the pond that he has in the garden.
Pond that they have, yes.
Which was their lovely, lovely, happy memories. And also it's part of the history. I remember him saying, you know, this is history. This is going to be history in the future. And you can't understand that. You don't understand what that means at that stage. It's too, what is history? You know, you're kind of in your 30s and you're thinking, oh, history. Well, what's that then? But now you look back and you think it was history. It is, you know, all the visions that Swamiji had at the time of what was going to happen. He'd tell you exactly, and you could never believe it. And you just thought, oh, okay, well, let's just see. And of course, it's all happened exactly as he said over all these years. It is truly amazing to have been there at the beginning. And I think for me, that's one of the most powerful things. You can see in these pictures, and I won't go through the people, but you can see there's some kind of energy bubbles around. Look above
Yes,
Colin's,
these are the,
Lorna's head, I think, and over here,
yes,
and then on the right hand side you've got Rambai and
yes,
Mr. Drew.
yeah,
Yeah, and then again when we went on the first trip, bottom left here, here's Hitendra with the umbrella again.
yes.
And it was lovely and hot. This was the first time we'd been to the ashram site. There was nothing there, nothing at all there. And he said, this is going to become a big ashram. Look, we were 2 kilometers from any other living person at that stage. And we're in the middle of this kind of swampy, kind of marshy type of land by the sea. And he said, there's going to be this marvelous, and it's going to have, you know, it's going to have dormitories, it's going to have a meditation hall, and it's going to have my kutir, and it's, you know, and it'll have lovely plants. And you're kind of thinking, really? We can't even get here because the road, there's no road there. And he said, it's all going to happen, and we're going to have electricity. And you're kind of thinking, really? Is this really? And he said, you know, and 50 years ago, this is where Dandy came on his, Gandhi came to Dandy, hard to say.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Dandy on his salt march. And he said, this is going to become a beacon for spirituality in the future. And honestly, I mean, it was quite hard to take in, but I'm so glad I've got these pictures because, you know, this is what it was like. And you can see the top picture here is Swamiji with all of us. And we're looking slightly different from the other picture because it rained, remember the monsoon, and we got so wet. I mean, everything was drenched.
Right.
We had to roll our trousers up, as you can see. And when we were going home, Swamiji gave each of us some money because he said all our clothes had been so ruined by the monsoon that season. It was so touching. It really was. But it was such an experience. And then the other picture that I've added in here is Swamiji at the sea. And you can see there's a dog here. And the dogs used to be attracted to his energy. And so you probably can't quite see it, but there is one dog there. And, you know, these dogs particularly would come up because they would be asking for liberation. And he would be like, well, no, I can't, you know, don't come too close because I don't want to, you know, it's your path. You know, so even animals in the same way have their souls, and their souls equally ask for liberation. And to saints, I mean, honestly, it was like the Pied Piper with animals walking along the beach.
I remember that journey. I remember those days, and I remember that Swamiji literally gave us the vision. You see, Guru has very huge, very big vision, and we, because of our logical thinking, always think, how can we will have something like a big ashram here when there is not even a road to go to that land? And it was more than 2 miles to walk inside. And he brought us on the ocean side only, from the beach, coastal area. And then we went into the real place where we have ashram today. Look how big it is. Look how many people have attended the Chaitanya Mahotsav recently. Such a big building, such a big ashram, such a big meditation hall and tent that we made now. All this was part of his vision. And not only that ashram, today we have more than 10 ashrams all over the world. What is changing, what is growing, what is evolving is the spiritual status of Guru, as well as the spiritual status of all the disciples like you and me and those who are joining every day. Guru or God will come on the earth with a vision, with the objective, why they are landing as a avatar or as a saint or as a guru or as a messiah or son of God, whatever name you give. This soul has landed or descended on the earth with the purpose of raising the vibration, raising the spirituality, raising the soul level of every soul to be elevated from the material entanglement, karmic entanglement, and becoming a pure consciousness. That is what I feel. That is why we are connected with Swamiji, and that is what we are seeing on a subtle level, all these orbs. This is even before Swamiji moved into that house for living with his family. This is simply a construction in progress. And Swamiji was doing meditation. Swamiji was staying hungry while making this Baba Swami Dham. And recently in Chaitanya Mahotsav, Swamiji said, even that house he has abandoned or he has given up. That means no attachment to anything after investing so much in the life. What does it shows? No expectation, no attachment, karma mukta or free of karma mindset. That is what Guru is giving us the example in this story, in these pictures that we are seeing, because many people did not see, they did not know all these stories. We have gone through this journey with Swamiji and should consider ourselves very lucky and privileged, because Swamiji mentioned to me, and even in his discourse, that very few souls come in close contact with the founding member of the path or organization like this. This is Samarpan. If somebody has met Sri Ram Sharma Acharya ji, then they should be considering lucky for Gayatri Parivar. If somebody has come in contact with, let's say, Paramhamsa Yogananda, they should be considering themselves lucky. Ramakrishna Paramhamsa or Swami Vivekananda, same thing. We are lucky that in our lifetime, we are connecting with Baba Swami himself, and he is paying every sadhak, he is paying attention on each and every sadhak individually when we met in those days. Now he says it is very difficult. And he also mentions that my inner circle did not grow that much. My inner circle is always the same people, but the Samarpan family has grown, and he is taking his energy to the next level for the greater collectivity of sadhaks. And this is the beautiful part. You see, this kind of discussions I like to have when I meet the old sadhak. This kind of discussions that we want to share with the new sadhaks, because this is something that Swamiji was paying attention to us, and why he started this mission, why he is standing today. Many people think that it is all about like other gurus, that somebody start the path and then they build the ashrams and then the mission will continue. It is more than that. Here it is spiritual progress. Here it is your own spiritual journey, as you mentioned. And we are executing our free will, but we are going and rising above with the God's will by the grace of Guru. And that is the beautiful part that I love. I met Mr. Dhruv Desai, as you see on the bottom right picture, and there is a beautiful orb coming out from his right hand, if you can notice. Dhruv Desai and Ujjwala ji were in Toronto when Swamiji landed first time on 21st of August in Toronto airport, in Toronto, and we met together for the first time. I met both of them for the first time with Swamiji also, and Jaya Pisavadia from UK. They all came together. Very beautiful, very beautiful. I'm surprised that my picture is there in your things. So I'm going to flip this
you
soon.
keep popping up there, don't you? You keep popping up.
Yes, yes, this is really interesting.
And it's quite interesting with these with this energy as well. You know, people kind of sometimes people say, oh, it's just a speck of a speck of dirt on a lens, or it's a whatever people want them to think. But what's quite interesting here is, look, there's coming out from the back of Neela, look, there's a whole almost a circle.
It is like a circle. It is like a circle.
Down here above Mr. Drew's head, moving towards you again, is a kind of line of them in a different direction. So it's just whatever. Right. But I mean, I did ask Swamiji, I've shown him the photographs years ago, and he said, yes, it's energy.
Yes, it is energy.
But this was about the first time people started picking up energy blobs, as we call them.
And this is some of the interesting picture of Guru Parivar. You can see Abhishji, Shashwati, and Anuragji, very young kids. Yeah. I mean, it's just a sense of how time passes, and this for me, and the top left here, look, that's in the days of when we all wore the orange headscarves all the time, and the delight was going to Guru Purnima. The slight nightmare came when unexpectedly, remember, because we didn't really understand a word. Somebody would say, right, you're up next. It's your go to give your experiences to the 4,000 people that are sitting in the audience down here. And you're like, me? It's one experience. So
yes, we were always slightly startled by what the next thing was. So I thought it was quite appropriate to put Bihag asking me what my latest experience was in the
Yes, yes, very beautiful.
and I think it was the very first one, but you may remember, Hitendra, when we got the pleasure of being asked to wash Swamiji's feet at Guru Purnima.
Absolutely. That is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Those days we were lucky that all of us who were the NRI or who came from out of India were given opportunity to do the Pada Puja of Swamiji. And all of us, even my kids were young at that time, like Saraswati, my older son was only 9 years old. And he also got opportunity. And we did the arti also on the Guru Purnima day on the stage. Swamiji's arti and Dada Guru's photo that you see on the right side on the stage. So those are the golden days. We were lucky to have this quality time with Swamiji, Guru Parivar, and our Samarpan family that was growing, and so much love. I remember Afaf Kauri. She was really beautiful soul from Germany. In that time, I think she's there in the center. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Lovely,
right.
lovely family we had, and we still have. It is growing.
And it was always good fun, and there was always something happening, and there was things that went beautifully, and then there were things that kind of didn't go so well. And interestingly, this next picture is the visit to Shirdi, the first one that we did.
Yes.
And this was a bit of an experience because we started by going to the original ashram office that was here, and this is Prabhakar, who was the artist from the original subtle body picture.
Yes.
And Swamiji called us in and he said, "You're going to Shirdi. This is the end of your Guru Purnima trip. This should be a really great experience for you. 2 Land Rovers." He called in the drivers and said, "Please drive really slowly." All the tickets or whatever we needed to get into have darshan the next day in Shirdi had been sorted, and then we would be flying home from Mumbai airport. And this is the group. There's all of us together.
Right.
Unfortunately, we got in these 2 Land Rovers, and because monsoon season, we got part way along 25 minutes out, and monsoon came down. The lead driver of the Land Rover drove so fast that the water came up and over the engine, up and over the roof, and completely conked out the engine. We were then stuck, and we were stuck for hours. And they took us to this garage here that kind of sort of looked a bit like the rest of our life, really, because we sat there for many, many, many hours whilst they tried to fix this Land Rover and sort it out. And some of us weren't very well because some of us had drunk unfiltered water by accident, and so had really upset tummy, and had also been bitten by mosquitoes. So I was going through some massive kind of clearance at this stage, and was not really very happy to be sat on the forecourt of a garage in baking hot sun with a tiny toilet and no food, for hours. But we did get there, and when we got there, the following morning, we went and had darshan, and here's the group, and this is Shirdi 20 years ago. Quite different, I think, from having visited it again recently. But there was one strange incident for me, that when I got to Shirdi, I was looking at my ticket for the next day after we'd had darshan and we'd go back to Mumbai, and I couldn't find my plane ticket home. I looked everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And Jay was with me, Lorna was with me, Carrie was there. We took everything out of my suitcase and put it back in again, and out and back in again, and out and back in again. We couldn't find it. Rang Navsari to the place that I'd been saying to check the waste paper bin. We waited for them to come back. No plane ticket. So I went to the darshan the next morning. We had to get up really early because we'd not collected our tickets in time, which would have allowed us a little more sleep. And it was a bit of an overwhelming experience. People were pushing us and shoving us, and it wasn't that kind of lovely, spiritual, relaxed experience you would like. So I was kind of sitting there slightly grumpy. It has to be said. So thinking, oh, for goodness sake, oh, and how am I ever going to get home? Because I haven't got a plane ticket. You didn't have an app that you could.
Very stressful situation.
A physical ticket.
Right.
So I went through the whole process, and anyway, when we got back to the hotel, ready to go home, I opened the lid of my suitcase to kind of get something out, brush my teeth or something, and right on the top of the suitcase was my plane ticket.
Wow.
And because 3 or 4 other people had personally gone through all of my luggage and it hadn't been there, it had to be, some kind of
This
shared design.
this
Very
is
cool.
the kind of things that we go through and we question
Mm.
how come. How come? Many times, I think when you were describing about that car engine failing, and then you had to wait at this garage, very typical of any Indian garage in the countryside. And it makes people like us who are going from the out of India environment. This is in early 2000, so you can imagine we were not that evolved in India with technology or with all the cellular phone that we are having today. Uh, but even these kind of places were helping us to keep going. Somebody, while you were describing that experience, was thinking or asking the question that if Guru is aware that you might get into trouble while this journey, why he's sending us into this? This is the question that somebody asked, and I have the answer that Swamiji want to give you, is when we came in this world, God already knew what good and bad time we are going to go through. But he sent us to learn our lessons from our failure, our success, our happiness and unhappiness, and become the pure soul, become the pure consciousness. So there is no choice of picking up only positive or only good or only right things. When you go to Guru, Guru is going to make you go through everything. That is the difference between a teacher and a guru. Teacher is always going to teach you to do only right things, to become only a good person. But Guru will always push you in all the things and make you winner out of the challenging situation, make you winner out of any bad situation also, and teach you that this is also part of life. You cannot just take the day and leave the night behind. You cannot just take the spring and leave the fall behind. You have to live through every season, all the light and dark of the life. And that is the beauty of Samarpan meditation. That is the beauty of having a living guru in your life, So that was that. I
And
also
that is true. Swamiji said there was somebody in one of the Land Rovers who really didn't want to go, and the strength of their thoughts was causing the massive delay that we had in getting to Shoddy. I mean, obviously we overcame it, but
yes.
it just proves to you that one person with very strong thoughts can upend everybody else's joy in the journey.
Yes. Another thing that I want to bring, if you can stay back on the same slide with the Prabhakar Sharmaji, that building was the first place that was donated or given to us by Sri Ramesh Bhai Kansara. His daughter Paulami Kansara is now in USA, and Ramesh Bhai is no more, but we can see this picture and we can remember him, and we are thankful to the Kansara family that this was the first house when Swamiji moved into the Navsari and started the revolutionary mission of Samarpan meditation and spreading it all over the world. Many people think that today Swamiji is living in $1 million house in Nijdham in Mahuri, and all this is all the glitter and glamour and comfort and luxury. But Swamiji said many times to us, I was the same person when I was living in the caves or in the jungles in Himalayas, and I am the same person when I am living in the hut at the Dandi ashram when there was nothing. There is a picture of the hut also in the Dandi ashram that you shared with us. We will be going through that again. But that was the thing. And this small place, this is the place where Swamiji used to live. And we have the This is Samarpan program with Prabhakar Sharmaji, one of the highest viewed program of This is Samarpan. Prabhakar ji, such a divine soul, and he did so much Guru Karya, especially for the first 4 parts of Himalayaka Samarpan Yog, Swamiji's autobiography. And we really feel blessed and lucky to have the association of all these people. And it is important for any ordinary sadhak to remember that Guru is not about the luxury or material world or the comfort or even the knowledge. Guru is all about your spiritual progress. Guru is all about your consciousness. Guru is all about meditation and connecting our soul to become Paramatma or Supreme Soul himself by evolving slowly but surely the way Guru has evolved. He is not here to hold our finger. He is not here to tell you that you bow down to me. He is here to teach us that if I could become from an ordinary man, ordinary soul to Supreme Soul, why you cannot? He told me very clearly in very first meeting that I came in your life to teach you how to understand the vibration or the language of vibration or consciousness. I came to teach you to stand on your own. I'm not here to teach you to depend on me. So in ordinary life, we are always codependent on our relationship with the people around us. But in spiritual journey, it is not like that. As Swamiji says, it is the alchemy of love. It is the paras money. It is the gem that converts an iron into the gold. That is the kind of association we have on a soul level, on a spiritual level, when we connect with Guru. Very beautiful memory, where so much interesting thing are coming up while talking to you in this, Emma.
Well, it was certainly an interesting time, and I think you're absolutely right. You know, all of these events, they, you know, if you are somebody who's not, you know, not from the Indian culture, that you're throwing yourself into it, and all of it, and going and staying at the ashram. We'll see some pictures later. It's all about breaking those things down, breaking your ego down. You know, sharing the dorms, being bitten. You know, having some great experiences, doing Garba. You know, just, you know, that's all part of the culture.
Yeah. And if you remember the discourse of Swamiji on Guru Purnima 2003, I remember very well on the Guru Purnima day, Swamiji started addressing the people like you, Afaf Khori, and all those who came from the Europe, that the search of truth can lead people to move and cross the borders and barriers of language, of nation, of culture, of religion, and everything, because your soul is really in true search of who God is, who I am, and how I can connect with the divine. And that was the most powerful line that Swamiji said. And that is one of the basic principle of Swamiji's Samarpan meditation movement, that he wants Samarpan meditation to be beyond religion. And he also warned us that I want to make sure that you don't make Samarpan meditation as another religious path, where people blindly follow and get stuck into the rituals and traditions. You want to always focus on your soul's progress. That is what Samarpan movement is all about. Samarpan meditation is all about.
And that's true. And he will say many times that, you know, some sadhaks will want to paste him in the rituals, or make him in the mold of what their view is of their religion, or whereas the reality is you don't need anything. You know, once you've been meditating a while and you understand that principle, it's all inside you. You just need to, you know, use the mantra as that springboard to make a connection.
Absolutely.
And then it's up to you keeping yourself balanced and connecting, and then your soul grows. That's my feeling. It kind of expands over the time. So you become less in on the intellectual level and more on the emotional, sensing your soul level and sensing the right answers and things.
Well, I like this picture that you are sharing here. Such a beautiful picture of both of you and Swamiji. And I feel jealous that you were able to attend the 2004 Guru Purnima also. I attended only Chaitanya Mahotsav 2004 after that with you guys in Penru.
Yeah, no, it was lovely. And you know, we all had tea in Babadam Gardens. It was just in 3 and 4, I think. So it's lovely, lovely memories. Oh, 2004 was never done a fire ceremony before, so that was all a bit new. And that's me with Melissa over here from Australia, and there's Tim and Caroline from the UK. And then you can see here Swamiji doing the fire ceremony and the on its way to being an Om sign, so which was interesting.
Yes.
And then down the bottom there was always the obligatory let's do some kind of bhajan or songs or whatever. Not being very good at singing. Nobody ever really wanted me in the group, I'm afraid. But you know, we all joined together and and we made lots of happy noise, and there was some great singing. And then
That's
over on the left again is the seemingly a bit of a red club, really, isn't it? We were all in our kind of these were all the outfits that we used to have to go and get at the beginning of every trip, because you know,
well, that was a good how you say shopping spree for you ladies when you went there.
yeah. Yeah, yes, only really useful though in India, it has to be said. Not quite November weather over here, but yeah, there's Sharon and Sophia.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so these were really good times.
Really
And then
beautiful.
2004. Oh, you weren't there in 2004, because this was when we went back to the ashram again, and these were the pictures I took of the ashram with
Yeah.
Swamiji.
This is the
Yeah,
hut that I was talking about. That Swamiji started the ashram with one small hut that they prepared temporarily as a small structure. You see,
yeah.
this is the beginning. This is the initial period of Samarpan movement, Samarpan mission in in India, because Swamiji was offered big lands even in Himachal when he was in Northeast. Swamiji was being supported by the politicians and business people, but he did not say yes to them to start the ashram before he came to Dandi. Dandi was a unique place. I don't know why, but he started his journey from here, and it was the perfect epicenter to start this Samarpan, as we will learn from your story. Very beautiful.
And I just had to include the road that constantly kept getting washed away. Whenever you went on an international retreat or Guru Purnima, quite often the monsoon would come, the road would get washed away, and we'd all end up having to walk down the beach back home again in the middle of the night. I recall.
I
So,
admire you for taking such a beautiful pictures everywhere you have been. Like, these are such lovely pictures. I never had those pictures before, and this is Samarpan is becoming a real documentary kind of program, because we are getting so many details and interesting pictures from different sources, from different sadhak. Amazing thing. Thank you very much for sharing all this, Emma, with us.
and
Wow.
2005, and you can see we've got some buildings coming up here. Look, we've got Swamiji's kutir, which is very different from today.
Mhm.
That was the group of people there. This was at Babadam with Guru Maharaj and Swamiji after Guru Purnima 2005. And then you can see the buildings is the meditation hall. And this is on the other side, I guess the dining hall. Oh, maybe that's a meditation hall and some living quarters, I think. The first cow I see. And then in these courtyards, obviously, that's where the rectangles of grass are now, where we all kind of sit round and everything. But in those days, it was a bit of a mud bath at times, or very dry and dusty.
And I think that was the first meditation hall that we started with on the backside. And
Yeah.
it was more like a very temporary structure, just to have some sort of shelter to start the meditation. Amazing.
And originally, I think before even that was built, I think the Swamiji's original picture of his first Guru, Shiv Baba, and little body picture, I think were in this room, weren't they? From recollection.
Yeah. The big picture that we have.
Yeah. I love that picture.
There in the meditation room, really, it is still there in the meditation hall. They kept it over there when I went last time in 2018, I believe, January 2018. It was there. Now it might be different.
Now look, Hitendra, this was my favorite. That was my favorite Guru Purnima at Junagadh.
Absolutely.
I just loved it. I loved the jungles, being able to kind of walk in those. This was the set. I remember Guru Purnima, you were there, weren't you? Guru Purnima Day.
Yes, we were together, yes.
Heavens opened, didn't it? And I think we all nearly got washed away down the valley, I think. It was an amazing experience. The energy was incredible. Just everything that we did as a group. Here's the group here. You can see Benita's here. Rashmi.
Yes.
Liz. And I've got to that age where I forget other people's names. So I'm now kind of embarrassed. I can't remember everybody's name.
It's okay, but it is one of the most memorable experience. And I remember when you come out of the tent, you could see the picture of the Girnar, the mountain.
Yeah.
It is believed that this mountain, Mount Girnar, the name is feminine name. Nar is like female, and Gir is the mountain, the female mountain of India. And it is believed that this is even more ancient than the Himalayas. You can imagine the energy. And Prabhakar Sharmaji, he has been to this place so many times in different parts of the Girnar mountain, meeting so many ascetics and yogis, the way Swamiji met in Himalayas over there. And when we were coming out of this Guru Purnima celebration, outside, we had this vision on the right side of the tent, and you look up on the mountain, you feel so calm, so serene, and so peaceful. This is really a very divine place that we were able to have the Guru Purnima. And Swamiji said, I remember very well, 2007 Guru Purnima is the peak of his spiritual journey from last 800 years. And then started the journey going downwards. It is like he went up all the way, reaching to this point of Guru Purnima in 2007. And now he is descending, he is passing down what he has accumulated, what his gurus have given, and he is spreading literally to the rest of the world after 2007 Guru Purnima onwards. And we have seen that the impact of that on a subtle level is totally different, because all the struggle that we were having to establish identity or create a brand of Samarpan meditation in the world were only up to 2007. After that, it was the progress level. It was a different level of Samarpan journey that we all have experienced. And many times I feel that Swamiji, with very long vision, is telling us a lot of things we fail to understand because of our how you say, shortcoming or intellect or ego or misunderstanding. We can say we are all imperfect also. So, but this is beautiful memory. I love this. I love this set of Mount Girnar in the back of the Swami.
This was the tent where we were. So we were right in the valley under, as you said, under the
yeah, it was a Jain monastery or residence place that we were given to stay at that time.
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience. And I went for a walk up. I won't go into it, but I went for a walk up the side of a mountain with a few people one day, and we came across a monastery, and we stopped briefly that day, but I really wanted to go back the next day. And I went with a couple of other people who could speak the language, because there was a guru there. And we went on the second day, and the guru called us over, and he had hair that stretched right up to the top. And he hadn't spoken for years and years. And he communicated on a little slate. And he spoke to the people that I was with, and they could translate for me, whereas the people on the previous day couldn't. And it was a 5,000-year-old temple. And obviously I had some kind of connection with this guru, because after a while he disappeared inside, and then he came back and he gave to me this bowl full of gulab jamun, which is my favorite of favorite.
Oh.
And so I kind of ate them all. And then I thought afterwards, oh my goodness, I'm halfway up a mountain, and I'm kind of, delicate stomach and everything, and I've just eaten this whole range of, and yes, and so on the first day he said I couldn't take a picture of him, because as you can see, I like taking pictures of things. And on the second day he disappeared for 5 minutes, and he came back out again, and he was wearing this holy yellow outfit, and he painted his face, and he was looking all spick and span. And he said to the guy he didn't say, he wrote down on his slate, she can take a picture of me now. But the one thing was, I was not to show it to anyone, and so I've kept my word all those years, and I've never shown it. But
Interesting.
Yeah,
This is where the subtle connection or the soul connection plays its role. That here is a person living in UK. She is going to attend a program with the Samarpan Meditation Group in India. somewhere in place like Junagadh in Gujarat, and she feels like going up in the mountain. She's going there and she's meeting another guru, this yogi, and on first day he says no, but he read your mind, what you like and how uh, he can treat you well also. You see, one thing I notice in that example or in that experience is a guru will never entangle himself in the karma. They always live in akarma sthiti. This is what I feel. You wanted to take the picture first day, he said no. He don't want to take the picture without paying you back. So he read your mind, he read your liking and disliking, and next day he prepared the gulab jamun for you, rose balls for you. And then first he offered you rose ball, and then he say, okay, now I can let you take my picture. And again, with the instructions, I admire you and I bow down to your soul for the obedience that you have when you are coming to any divine guru or any master like this, because I have seen that obedience for Swamiji also, following Swamiji's guidelines, following Swamiji's way of practicing meditation, not doing double meditation or different type of meditation and focusing only on one. All these little things is telling me that your soul probably was already connected with this kind of gurus or saints in the past life. It is evolved enough that in this life you are getting the association or sanidhya of such gurus. And some of those gurus don't even give darshan, that means viewing, to some ordinary people. You must be an evolved and lucky soul that they gave you darshan. You came across such guru and he allowed you to take the picture. There are many such places, many such gurus like this in India, that people will have difficulty to accept the reality about their existence, But you have seen them, you have taken the picture of them, and it is amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah, and I won't go into it because there's not sufficient time. But I mean, every time I come to India, I always go somewhere and I find another guru who pops up from somewhere, and there's some kind of connection. It's strange, but it's
Yeah, so I believe, or I guess I would say that you must have lived in India in the past life, probably.
Well, when I was at junior school and we had sewing lessons, I always used to sit cross-legged on a chair, and I always used to get told off by the teacher because nobody else obviously sat with their legs cross-legged on a chair in the UK,
Yes.
and I used to get told off for it. So maybe there is something.
Yes, yes. These are the subtle habits that we carry on from the past life. Very, very true. And I think most of the information that you have in the notes we have already covered.
No, I
So,
think we have.
yeah, you have covered most of them, and I really appreciate that you remember and you thank all those people who help you while you were in India during your stay, or rather guiding you or giving translation and explaining you about what is going on and how you can understand Swamiji's messages and other people's communication. Interesting. Let's go on the next question before going for the break. Please tell us a little bit about traveling with Swamiji and driving him into different places. I think you are one of those lucky souls like me who had opportunity to drive Swamiji to different places. So let us see some of those beautiful memories.
So driving Swamiji is an interesting experience because when you're in his proximity, you become thoughtless. So you have to do a bit of planning ahead. And this is in the days before sat-nav, really. It was just coming in towards the end of the time that I was driving him before 2010. So in the early days, it had to rely on my map reading skills and an understanding of where we were going. Just picking on a few places that we went to. So on the left-hand side of this picture, you can see there's a big group, which is our Cheltenham group. I moved to Cheltenham for a job in 2003, I think, 2002, 2003. Hales Abbey is a ruined abbey, demolished by Henry VIII, who he dissolved the monasteries. And this particular monastery, Hales Abbey, believed that it had a phial of Jesus's blood. Nobody knew, but pilgrims came from all over Europe. So we thought it was a good opportunity to say to Swamiji, what do you think? Because we went and visited it a couple of times. He enjoyed going there. And he said, well, let's just stand, hold our hands out, tension on top of the head, or recite the Guru mantra and see what we feel. And it was very clear quite quickly that there was a really strong, cool breeze. And after a while, I did have video of this, but it will never, ever, ever play back again. And so Swamiji said, well, from the strength of the energy, we could all feel the truth that, yes, it had been a place that had kept Jesus's blood.
Right.
And the place that it was kept was in this area here, this raised mound. And he said, you can see that the grass is greener on this. And
Wow.
the fact that pilgrims would not have traveled across Europe if they hadn't have felt the energy, it must have been pure for people to want to come from their heart. Their soul must have known that, yes, indeed, this was somewhere where there was a relic.
That means it is an authentic place, and what people believe or they know is something that is truth.
Now, the other interesting fact is slightly unrelated, but not long after, well, in 2009, I did a short secondment to Ashridge Business School, which is this place at the top here. And when I was happening to read the history of this building, Elizabeth I used to visit it. Again, they also said they had a phial of Jesus's blood, which was kept in an area somewhere around here. I've just taken a picture of it. But I thought that was really quite interesting that I don't know the veracity of the Ashridge Business School phial of blood, but I do know that the Hales one was true. But I thought it's quite interesting that I keep ending up going to places that seem to,
have such importance from the past.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting, very beautiful.
So here there's a little bit of a collection of things. Stonehenge is obviously somewhere that, as people have seen from photographs in the past, that we've taken Swamiji to on several occasions. This particularly he liked, and he wanted his picture taken because he liked the picnic table. And one thing that I learned from Swamiji early on was he was always looking everywhere for things that he could put in the ashram. So if he got an idea from somewhere, he would be like, I like that, let's take a picture of that. Or how can we create something like that? Or for the Western people, how can we get the right sort of toilet for them? Or, he was always looking after people's comfort and the latest things that, he could use to build the ashram. And that was a really kind of interesting learning experience. In
fact, I also have that kind of vision that anything I learn from the new place or new creation, even my kids, they love to take the pictures, keeping in mind that this is something we can use in our creativity or in our construction in the future, and it is a good quality. He is not thinking about himself. He's thinking about the future Samarpan family who is going to benefit from the ashram and from the facilities that we are creating for the sadhaks. So that is a great loving and giving nature of a guru.
It is, and his constant focus was on how he could create what he needed to create for the organization and for the organization to be able to grow. So the bottom left picture is me looking in a slightly hippier fashion in those days, and I remember asking Swamiji, because all around the Stonehenge area are crop circles, so areas within crops that get patterns. Now, people say many of those are hoaxes. People have made them themselves. And I remember saying to him, so what about these crop circles and, the area around Stonehenge? And he said, all of this is created by electromagnetic energy.
Yes. So that is another proof that, because we have seen those pictures on the online images quite often. And just like the belief about the UFOs and all kind of hoax that we hear, people try to connect anything that they don't understand or anything that is supernatural just as unbelievable thing or kind of hoax. But not everything is hoax. We need to have that kind of spiritual level where people can go travel across the time and bring the information for us. Swamiji is one of them. And some of the sadhaks are evolving to that level also in today's time, as Swamiji keep on mentioning several times in his discourses, that he already started passing down those qualities or siddhis or attainments to his disciples. And those disciples are growing not by taking anything physically from Swamiji, or not Swamiji giving physically to somebody. Swamiji mentioned in Chaitanya Mahotsav discourse recently, as love between guru and disciple is the strongest, how you say, pipeline that can transfer the knowledge or information or attainment or energy from a guru to disciple. And same thing, love is the one that connects guru also with God or his gurus. So all we need is to surrender and believe that with Swamiji, nothing can go wrong with my soul or with my life. Only good is going to happen. Only spiritual progress is going to happen. And I am going to move on the higher path, not on the lower path in my life. That is the beauty. We can see it in your example. Now, when we talk about Paris, we remember something very special. There is a discourse where Swamiji talks about you. I don't know if the audio clip is here or next slide, or when it is going to come.
No, I can't remember the number of.
I would like to find out Pranavji or Rasikaji, if you know where that audio clip is, if we can play it at this point.
Well, if you find out, I'll just mention briefly, I don't have any photographs of Paris or Scotland because they are at my own home, and I've been staying for quite a long time looking after my dad and family up here. So I've collected together the photographs I can for today from what's on all of my computers and things, but I didn't have the Paris and Scotland ones, so I've had to use good old Wikipedia for those.
Yeah. No, that is fine. That is fine.
So the Paris trip, I was living in Cheltenham at the time, and Srila Nag rang me up and said, "Oh, Swami's decided he wants to go to Paris tomorrow." I just got back from being in London with Swamiji, and it's probably about a good hour and a half. Oh, do you think you could come back at 5 o'clock in the morning then, and drive us to Paris? Barrett was going as well, I recall, and I think was it Barrett? I can't remember, or was it? Anyway, we went in two cars, as I remember, and I wasn't really used to driving in Paris, but every time I was about to pull out and assume the other side of the road, because Paris is on the other side drives on the other side of the road from the UK. So I would just stop. So he would know and I wouldn't, but he was a very good navigator from that perspective.
Yes.
And it was that trip where Swamiji made that comment, because we had done a lot of traveling, and we were often moving between families, particularly with the name Patel. And again, in Lille, we stayed with families who extended from the Patels from London. And yes. I remember one particular occasion that, and again, Srila was the translator and she was out and nobody else could speak English. So I was sitting in the sitting room with Swamiji, and the family we were staying with had this baby who decided to have a complete tantrum, and it was an ear-splitting tantrum. And I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting for Swamiji's energy. And he sat there for a little while. He started looking a bit uncomfortable, and then after a while, he just got up. He went over to this baby in this, who was in a carry cot, and he leaned over and looked at this baby, who was like screaming. And so he just did something kind of like, whatever Swamiji does. Vibrations. And this baby just kind of went. It was just amazing, and baby was said, knocks out, and we didn't hear another thing from him for the rest of the afternoon. So yeah, it was
kept quiet. So make your evening more peaceful.
made it slightly more bearable before we then went out and did a range of workshops, both in Lille and in various places around Paris. It was a lovely trip, and then we took Swamiji into Paris, and there's photographs of him with the Eiffel Tower and just different places. And I know he really enjoyed that trip. It was a lovely trip.
Just to let you know that the audio clip is going to be later in the Shirdi Shibir slides. So we will continue with this, what you are sharing. I think Dr. Sachapara is here.
Yes, and really, I mean, these are pictures from Swamiji's birthday. he came to the UK, I should think 3 or 4 times in 2004. He came to do the workshops in April. He came again, I think, I don't know, the summer, or certainly came in the autumn. Then we went to Paris, and then we came back from Paris, and almost immediately it was his birthday. And sort of Paris was almost a bit of a distraction, because when Swamiji is having a big event, he actually likes to, this is how I explained it, leave it to the sadhaks to run that event and put it all together. I mean, obviously he's got his attention on it, but he finds that if he's around, all the attention is on him, and it makes it more difficult for him to get into that really balanced state that he needs to be in order to, you know, to do the event. So I recall we came back a very short time before his birthday celebrations, and I think Liz has done a session on his birthday celebrations, and Jaya and Surrender. Right. I think. So I wasn't really going to go over that. I mean, they were amazingly organised, and then amazing for the UK to have.
I think it gave UK sadhaks to pay back all the hospitality that they enjoyed in India by the sadhaks from India. And that was the expectation from them, that we also want to host an event. We also want to host something big and special for Swamiji. And Chaitanya Mahotsav 2004, as I myself have attended, was one of the best event, I think, organized and managed on an international level by the UK sadhaks. I really admire that. I appreciate, and we really enjoyed that.
It was a fantastic achievement by everybody. It really was.
Yeah, it's a good teamwork, and Swamiji himself was very happy. Swamiji was very happy with the setup and all the things, the way it was organized.
Because November it can be a very cold month, and you know, most visiting sadhaks from abroad would not, you know, take too kindly to having to put several layers of thermals on to sit in a tent in Wales. You know,
is something. But you guys made very beautiful the heating fan, that vent that you created in the tent, and it was perfectly comfortable. Like, it was not that difficult for us to take it. It was like normal environment, very nice temperature setup.
And the picture of Dr. Sachapara is because I remember at the time Swamiji said, "Oh, stand with Dr. Sachapara and have a picture," and it wasn't until I think it was 2019 Ahmedabad Medical Conference that I ended up then spending time with Dr. Sachapara, who was obviously there and leading the setup of that. And so I sent him this picture and I said, "Oh, do you remember?" So he always knows. He knows in advance who to put people with.
He's connecting sadhaks. And that's why he encouraged us. He encouraged us that whenever you go to a bigger function, try to make friendship with the sadhaks. Try to connect with the sadhaks. Look, I have not visited too many major events, but I have kept very good relationship like we have built and with other sadhaks. That is what is helping us to bring this program, this is Samarpan, to the world. And it is only by the grace of God and Guru, because if Swamiji is not there, I will not have such a beautiful, big, soulful family in my life. And we are becoming part of Swamiji's history and Samarpan history. You know, we are becoming part of it. So Swamiji kept telling us this, that you don't know what you are going through and with whom you are, but when you will realize, you will really appreciate that we are very lucky and privileged to be in the presence of a soul like Shiv Krupanand Swamiji.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Just pictures here.
Just a few comments on. We did a trip to Scotland. It wasn't for very long. It was 2-3 days. A couple of notable things that were really interesting. We went to St Andrews, which is where I was at university, And we went into the chapel here, and that's a picture of it inside. And as we walked in, there was I had a very strong sense of energy, and Swamiji was just standing there looking around, and I thought, well, something's happening here. And I just felt this intense emotion come up. And after a while, we left because somebody else then came in. And when we went outside, he said, have you had some kind of reaction? And I was like, I think so. And he said, I'm paying back your debt to the university. But it was incredible. I have no idea really what it was, but it was something that was a very strong feeling that.
Yes. So many times we don't know, but our soul is emotionally connected with the place, with the memory it had from the past life, and the memory of the event or people in that land. That also make us very emotional sometimes after going to that places. Amazing photos.
Yeah.
These are amazing photos, believe me. I love it.
Rosslyn Chapel on the right is very famous in the Da Vinci Code. If anybody's ever seen the film or read the book about the Crusaders, and it's a story. I won't go into the history of the Crusades and the Knights Templar, but there is a view that these Knights Templar who went across the world, and they gathered up. I'm putting this very simply, they gathered up a lot of treasure, and that treasure has never really been found. They were looking for the Holy Grail as well. I guess we would say the Holy Grail is the soul inside you, ultimately, but anyway.
Absolutely.
But the Rosslyn Chapel is famed for having it's a Templar church just south of Edinburgh, and it has many carvings and many strange carvings linked to America, linked to the Templars, Masons, etc. And so I thought it'd be quite interesting to take Swamiji there, see what he feels. On entry, as we went up to that main door here, he didn't know any of the history of it. As he walked towards the door, it suddenly started to rain, and there was this sprinkling of rain across us all. And so we looked at each other, and he kind of laughed and said, well, that's what happens, when two energies meet. And they collide, they create that precipitation. And sometimes we see that, don't we, at Gurupanima when it kind of rains. We went inside the church, and he looked round, and so towards the end, I said, well, there is this story that there is something very special hidden, perhaps underneath, they don't know where, but they do think there's something within Rosslyn Chapel. And Swamiji stopped for a minute, and he had to think, and he said, yes, there is. It's something that hasn't been uncovered, but it isn't the right time yet. And so it needs to wait for the right person to find it.
Right. That's very interesting. And you see, if we don't have such a mentor or such a navigator or guide in our life, we will never understand. For us, it will be just a haunted place or a palace or a chapel. But when we go in the presence of such guru, we learn and come to discover so many hidden things that we have never learned before. That is a beautiful story. And so far we have started from your childhood. We have started learning about your journey with different gurus, and going to India, attending major functions, and how you got opportunity of Guru Sanidhya, proximity of Swamiji in your life, traveling to so many interesting places, historical places. And in today's program, we learn so many things that we never learned in the first different interviews we had with the UK sadhaks. So I really appreciate that. Are we ready to take a break?
I'm happy to. I'm happy to.
There are a few more slides left in this question.
Okay, sorry. I
Okay,
thought
should I skip through those, and then we can?
No, please
No,
go
no.
ahead and let's finish those.
Complete it. I thought this was the last slide.
I've always got plenty to say, so you can always stop me. I'll carry on till we get to the end of them. I don't.
Please do so, because our audience is very curious to know this, and we will. I don't know when we will get a chance to visit those places, but through you and by the Swamiji's consciousness, we are enjoying this travel.
Well, I can thoroughly recommend Iona at the bottom, which is a very small island off the Isle of Mull in Scotland. and we visited there and had an amazing experience. We went into I have got some pictures at home, but we went into the main cathedral, which St. Columba created. He came from Ireland. I can't, forgive me for not remembering all the history, but he brought Christianity over, and it's a very special place for Christians.
Wow.
When we went outside and round the back of the main part of the church, behind where the altar is, Swamiji said that's the strongest place of energy here. He said it's very, very strong energy here. He couldn't meditate on the island of Iona because he said he would have gone too high and he wouldn't be able to come back down again. And but he said actually inside the church, because again people tip out their troubles, the energy wasn't the same. But if you go to the space behind, it's got the strongest energy.
Very interesting. Very interesting. For those who are nearby or those who want to visit this place, keep that in mind.
Just a couple of things on this slide. We went to Cornwall on a visit, and that was a lovely visit. What you can see in these pictures here, this little island here has got a church on top. So here's the island again, here's the church. This is St. Michael's Mount, and again, Swamiji said it was one of the strongest energies he's felt in a church in the UK. And he said part of it was because the church that's built up there is built of really good quality stone that holds really good positive vibrations. He said it was built by people who had really good intentions. It was built, on an island, so it's cut off from, the rest of the UK. Makes it pure. And of course, it's surrounded by salt water, which again is pure in itself. And so he really, really enjoyed that visit. And it was a really, really steep, you can see it's a really steep climb up here to get to the top. But he said because the energy was really, really good, he could get up there, and it wasn't that much of an effort to get there. But it was an amazing visit, and he really loved the music there. And we talked about ley lines, because ley lines are energy lines that crisscross the globe, and there are a lot of ley lines that cross the UK. And one of the key places is the St. Michael's line that goes down through Glastonbury and then down through to and across the rest of the UK, and then down to St. Michael's Mount. So it was a really strong place. And from that, we had a discussion about ley lines. He asked me to do some research because, the ashrams now are going around the globe. In those days, he was only going to be creating 7 ashrams, but of course, as we know now, we've got many more than that.
Yes.
And then, of course, these ley lines will be like the energy motorways that will connect up all his ashrams. So eventually, when all the ashrams are created and the energy statues are vibrating,
it will be connecting the different locations.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the right hand side is just a kind of nice example that we were standing in a field and we were looking at this well. It's an ancient well, and Swamiji was kind of looking and feeling the vibrations, and he suddenly turned around to me and he said, well, can't you see across this field there are all these different ley lines? Can you see how they crisscross? And no, sorry, but he said it's amazing because the energy was very pure down there. It was a very strong set of vibrations in that field. So wow. But then I took him to a beautiful little church with a stream outside. We went inside. 2 minutes later, he walks out, marches out, and says, I don't know, that church, people have tipped out too many woes there. And so, the energy is not that great. It's
right.
It's not.
This is amazing. You are so lucky to travel with Swamiji in such beautiful places, and you selected right location to show him.
Well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You'll see later in the in the slides, I took him to Tintagel, which was just up the coast in Devon, and it's linked to the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur, and quite a lot of mysticism. Well, getting there was interesting. Got within about 2 miles of the place, and I couldn't actually get to the castle. He was laughing at me because we were going up and down these different roads, and I had no idea where the next turning was. And I'd got a very early version of a sat nav, and that wouldn't work at all, which was quite common around Swamiji. If you haven't near Swamiji, you see errors come up that you've never seen before, and his energy will affect anything that's energetic around you. So anyway, we got there and we were in the grounds, and it was all very nice. And so we then had to walk up a short hill to then cross over this kind of bridge of land to go onto this island area where the Tintagel Castle is. And he sat down and he said, I'm really sorry. He said, I can't go any further. He said, the energy is just not right here. He said, I'm really sorry because you've driven here and we've gone around in circles, but actually, he said, there's been some misuse, I think, of energy in the past, and I can't go into the castle itself.
Interesting.
So, sometimes
Yeah, he don't even enter in those places.
no. So
you wonder that how come he enjoyed that place and how come he is not willing to go into this place. But he decide only based on energy, not any other thing.
Correct. So there's a collection of photographs here between 2006 and 9 on the Isle of Wight. And in 2006, Ujjwala was coming over with Swamiji to the UK.
Guru Ma is also there, I think.
And she said, oh, Emma, she said, Swamiji was reading the newspaper this afternoon and a supplement fell out. And the supplement was all about this place called the Isle of Wight. Do you know anything about it? Swamiji told me to pick the phone up to you and ask you if you knew anyone who knew the Isle of Wight. So I said, oh, that's good news that you asked me then, because all of my mum's family come from the Isle of Wight. So I know the Isle of Wight very well. I go there every year. I have relations there. So so I organised the first trip. He wanted to take some sadaks, a group of sadaks, and we stayed in a retreat place for the first year, and then we kind of got some other places to stay in following that. But he's been there 3 or 4 times, and he really loved it there. Again, because like the previous example, it's an island. It's much bigger. It's quite a lot bigger than Mount St. Michael. But it's got a lot of ley lines. Its reputation is of an island that has quite a lot of hauntings and a lot of energetic stuff that goes on there. And Swamiji just loves it. And so he's been there on a number of occasions. He's taken groups over there, and he's also taken Guru Ma and taken a break when he's been over in the UK just to kind of unwind slightly. And I've just literally thrown together a few pictures here of places he's visited. This is Queen Victoria's home, Osborne House, that some of you may have heard of, and we've been there a couple of times. This is God's Hill, which is a very famous church, a small church right in the middle, the centre of the island. So no surprise then that we come to a church in the centre of the island that's full of ley lines. Hey, but this is one on the Downs. There's many downs on the Isle of Wight, and then this is a place where they launched the first. Well, they created the first satellites that were not fired from the UK, but we sent them over to Australia in the 60s to be. And then the government decided that actually probably wasn't going to be any money in satellites sending things into space, so they canned the production, and that's why this is now empty. Despite the fact now our entire life revolves around the use of satellites, which was quite amusing.
Very interesting.
This is a Roman villa that Swamiji went to, and he was laughing that day because he was taking the help of a walking stick. So he was saying, "Oh, I must look like a granddad." So, that was that. Then these are a few more pictures here. Again, this is Osborne House when we went, and these views on the ferry. And this is obviously. Yeah, they don't even need to be live, but Guru Ma loves her animals, and this is obviously a dog. This is a picture special to me. When he went over a couple of times, he invited my mum and dad to spend some time with him.
Very beautiful. This is a unique memory that you have your parents and Guru both together.
Yeah. So no, that was really lovely. And on that occasion, he did some talking to them, inviting them over to India, which was lovely, but I think would have been a step too far, certainly for them. And of course, now I no longer have my mum, so
very lucky.
Lovely memories.
Yeah,
and then this is Quor Abbey, which is definitely worth a mention because this is a Catholic monastery on the Isle of Wight. It is next to a derelict monastery. Henry VIII came here as well and managed to dissolve that monastery in about 1910, I think. They built a new version, which is this. And my grandmother comes from the Isle of Wight and grew up there. And I have very few memories of things that she said on the Isle of Wight, but I do remember when we passed by Quor Abbey, she said to me, "That is a magnificent building." She said, "I watched it being built when I was a girl." And what's interesting is that when Swamiji went inside, he sat and meditated for a while. And when he came out, he said, "This is the strongest energy I felt of any church in the UK." And he said, "Somebody has opened an energy center here," as in as in a portal, or, you know, some good positive energy. And so he said, you know, it's good to come and sit and meditate here.
Very nice, very nice. So this
That
is
was
a
kind of-
this is a beautiful place, and you should be considering yourself lucky that all your uncles and aunts and your mom's side family is there, right?
well, they've all now sadly passed, more or less, but yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You have been there so many times in the life.
Yeah.
Very
No, I
beautiful
have a
place.
place there. I have a place there, which is nice, overlooking the sea. So
Yeah.
that's kind of good too.
Right.
And these are just other. Somebody likes to go to gardens, as you know, butterflies. He likes waterfalls or places that have water falling, because he said each waterfall makes a different vibration and changes the energy.
Absolutely.
This is he called me